All right, what's up, YouTube? I'm back again. We're on to circulatory. If you missed the first part of March at the beginning, the M.A.R., go back and watch those, and at the beginning where I talk about an overview of what we're doing here. But this is the C and the H part of the M.A.R.C.H algorithm. So, we're looking at little wounds, things that aren't arterial bleeds, head, deep cuts and lacerations. These are not wounds that are going to cause you to bleed out, but you still need to treat them. Best way to do that is gauze and a pressure bandage of some kind. Being able to apply pressure to that wound is what is going to make that wound stop bleeding. So you've got cool guy stuff. This is a 4-inch ETD from North American Rescue, and then my personal favorite, though it's huge, these are both 4-inch bandages and like huge, right? This is an Elias or Olays pressure bandage. Now here's the thing, these look cool. What if I told you that between a package of gauze and an ACE wrap, I could do the same thing? Because I can. Because that's all this is. And I'll show you for things. So this is a 4-inch ETD. This is also a 4-inch ETD. Now they are not pink. This one was actually used in a TACMED class. So this is just fake blood. But essentially, you have a big gauze pad and a stretchy elastic bandage. So I'm gonna put this on, and then I'm going to wrap this around, and when I come over it the first time, this little claw on the top, I'm gonna come through that claw, and I'm gonna go back over myself using that. I can't do it because it's not flat, but when I pull back over, it's going to pull down on this and put pressure. The objective is to have this directly over the wound, so you put the most pressure available directly on the wound. This is all an ETD is. This is it. This is actually a North American Rescue 4-inch ETD. Nothing to it. I've got an abdominal pad, a 9-inch abdominal pad, and then I have stretchy elastic. That's it. I'm using this, wrapping it around like you would an ACE bandage for a sprain, and I'm using that so that I can create pressure to do it. So again, you would come over at one time, and then you would just drop in to this guy here, and then you come back across, putting pressure on it. That's it. Nothing to it to use these. Very, very effective. Super useful if you have scalp and head lacerations or an eye injury of some kind. Put something over that eye, wrap a pressure bandage around it to keep that shit out of that eye, and to be honest with you, you're better off to cover up both eyes if you can, because that will keep them from fucking up shit. But very effective at what they do. There's a ton of names for these things. You've got the Elias and you've got the ETD, which are my two favorite ones, but you also have the standard Israeli pressure dressing. You have the H-bar dressing from H&H Medical. And then I'll show you an Elias. So this Elias was one that was used in a medical course, and so this is this guy, and I'll show you why I like this one so much more, even though it's so much bigger and bulkier. Typically I will keep one of these in my range bag by itself, not in the IFAK, because it is that useful. So first off, when you pull this guy open, you'll notice this cup on the front. That cup can be torn off and used as an eye cup, like I just talked, an eye shield, or this is for pressure. You're using this because it sits over the top of the pad itself. Now this guy's, you got Velcro on it, and it actually stops itself with Velcro. So you don't have like this just giant roll of shit going everywhere. So that sits on top of this, and when you put this on to the wound, when you come over the top, that is your pressure mechanism, much the way this little bar is your pressure mechanism on here. One of the reasons people and responders like Elias or Olays is, you see how thick this pad is, right? There's a reason for that. If I reach inside of this pad, boom, what do I got here? This is an occlusive shield. So this is an impermeable piece of plastic that I can use as a makeshift chest seal, then using this to hold this in place. I can tape it and then go over the top of it. So that's just in these. This is in the Elias pressure dressing. Now here's the best part of these. I need to pack this wound, right? This is not the pad. This is just more gauze. So I can literally pull this out, cram that wound as tight as I can get it, pack that wound, and then pressure dressing over the top of it, getting that pad down onto it and the pressure. That is the reason the Elias bandages are so well regarded by medical guys. because this is essentially a bleeding kit all by itself. So as it's sat up, you know, I've got this guy here, and like I said, they're big and they're bulky. That's the one pitfall of these. So you've got this little setup here. This one's been open, so it's big and bulky, but you can see it's still big and bulky. It's a big, bulky dressing. But this alone gives me the option to pack a wound. I have something I can use for an occlusive chest seal for osteomedicine or manufacturing a chest seal if I don't have a chest seal. I have the ability to rip that thing off the top, and now I have an eye cup, and then I can just wrap the bandage around your head. Now I'm protecting that eye. If I've got a bleed on the scalp, I can put the whole thing on there, wrap it around, I'm good. I can pack a wound first. Like, say if I just have a thing of quick clot and this with me, now I can pack the wound with the quick clot first, rip some gauze out of this, pack the wound till it's full, push it down on top, put pressure, and wind it on it like you're doing an ace bandage for a sprain. The objective is to put pressure, and this is awesome to get this done. Now I will tell you something cool. There's another version of this dressing that's called the M.A.R.C.H. The M.A.R.C.H uses chito gauze or chitosan inside of it, which is a coagulant. So that is actually giving you the ability, with carrying one of these, now you have a hemostatic agent, packing gauze, an occlusive chest seal that you can use, an eye shield or a pressure cup, and a pressure bandage all at one time. These are excellent for what you get. These are about the same price. These are $6 or $7 is what you're going to pay for one of these to get it. No, it's not as flat. They do make a flat fold, but it's still not as flat. And if you get the hemostatic version, you're looking at about $50, but you were looking at $50 for a thing of hemostatic gauze. This is a very, very useful tool that we can do lots of stuff with, and it's excellent. Now, like I said, head injury, so we've got bleeding from the scalp, stuff like that. We can clean that up and do this with this. And then the last part of that head injury deal is heat loss. Because here's the fun fact. If you're bleeding out, your body starts to shed body temperature. That just happens. That's a response to losing blood. You get cold. Here's the problem with that. You start dropping single degrees off of your body temperature, which does not take very long. Even during a hot day, they will cool off. Your body loses its natural ability to clot, which means you free bleed, and now you're not only fighting the free bleeding that's coming from this, you're also fighting the body's ability to clot blood because of it. So you have to keep them warm. So if you've packed a wound up and you've tourniqueted them and you've managed to stop the bleed, next thing you need to do is wrap them up in an emergency blanket. This alone is not going to keep them alive. If they've got a coat, you've got a spare coat, a blanket in the car, put the blanket on them, wrap this over it. You need to create insulation for them to retain body heat. Because if you don't, they are not going to be able to clot on their own, which is going to make what you just did less effective. Again, we're trying to buy minutes, slow the clock down to get them to a higher level of care so that they can live to yell at you about the infection they got from you cramming a t-shirt in them. You can't stress this enough. You're just slowing it down. This stuff is super easy to obtain. Everything I've shown you here, with the exception of a tourniquet, you could pick up for less than $50. Add a tourniquet to it, now you're talking $70. But there's some ready-made options out there that don't have quick clot in them, but things like this. This is the IFAK from North American Rescue. This is a super simple solution. I got this to check out. A little pouch for it. This is the IFAK. This is a sealed solution. And what do I have in here? I have Z-fold gauze, a trauma bandage, and a tourniquet. I don't have a chest seal. That could be a problem. But then we can look at things like this guy. This is the SOAR Rescue MedMag. This, you can get the bleeder version with a hemostatic. But even without it, I have gauze to pack a wound. I have a pressure bandage to put pressure. I have gloves to keep wet and sticky and not mine off of me. I have chest seals, a twin pack to deal with that. All in this little thing that fits in a mag carrier. Sealed and ready to go. Add to that your tourniquet, you're pretty well on your way. So there are options out there. But you don't need a lot to save a life. And that's what I'm trying to get to with this stuff. Just some options we can look at. So stay tuned, guys. I'm going to show you a kit that I carried on my ankle every day, and I'll explain why I did what I did with it. And then I'll take a look and show you what one of my IFAKs looks like that I just pulled off a belt 5 minutes ago. So guys, like and subscribe. I'm Uncle Freedom. Thanks for stopping by. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I'll see you on the next one.